and Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Tonight, Vice President Dan Quayle, he survived the torture of '88, is ready to run in '92. But in between, endless criticism and ridicule.
Did you really say when you were in Latin America, I wish I spoke Latin?
Tonight, he answers back.
Doesn't that hurt you when you hear the jokes, when people say, hey, he shouldn't be president? All that stuff that went on week after week? Yeah.
Dan Quayle's first in-depth interview since the president's health problems last spring.
I think he's getting a bum rap in the press, pounding on him when he's doing a first-class job.
Tonight, Dan Quayle answers his critics. Then Marilyn Quayle with her husband. Rare personal moments.
How do you combat it now when you hear jokes about him? I mean, this man you'll love.
Well, you know what?
Those are easy.
Yeah. Actually, we don't talk a lot about it.
The Vice President and Mrs. Quayle, as you've never seen them. Barbara Walters, an intimate visit with the Quayles. And a stunning new attitude about air disasters. You can survive. You can come out alive.
They don't die in the initial crash. They die because of the toxic fumes, the flames, and they can't get out of the aircraft.
Now, frequent flyers are taking special classes. How to survive a plane crash. What to do. How to act when you only have seconds to save your life.
There was this sort of sickening impact. It was almost like a crunch.
U Downs with advice from experts and actual survivors. If your plane goes down, you can live to tell about it. Those stories tonight, October 18th, 1991.
Last Tuesday, all eyes were glued to the U.S. Senate chamber. Would Clarence Thomas get enough votes for confirmation? If the vote had been tied, then all eyes would have gone to Vice President Quayle. Casting a tie-breaking vote, and Quayle would have voted for Thomas, is one of the few official duties of the Vice President. But even though Dan Quayle has been a very active and very visible Vice President, many people feel they still don't know who he really is. And when President Bush was hospitalized last spring, the what-if question was on everybody's lips. What if Dan Quayle became president? What is the man really like? Well, 10 days ago, we went to Washington to interview Dan Quayle and his wife, Marilyn. His wife, because Quayle says she's one of his top advisors. By the way, this interview was to have run last week, but was postponed because of the Senate hearings. And if anyone knows what it's like to survive a political firestorm, it's Dan Quayle. New Orleans, August 16th, 1988. At a rally during the Republican convention, George Bush reveals his choice for a running mate.
The next Vice President of the United States, Senator Dan Quayle of Indiana.
Dan who was the first reaction. Bush had chosen a junior senator from Indiana whom most Americans had never heard of. Dan Quayle was 41 years old with a dozen years in Congress. But his biggest campaign obstacle was his image. He found himself repeatedly portrayed as a lightweight.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Daddy, what did you bring me?
Well, let's see. I've got this National Security Council report on Afghanistan. Why don't you read that and tell Daddy what it says?
Okay.
The comedians and the cartoonists had a field day. But who was Dan Quayle? James Danforth Quayle was born into a publishing family with solid conservative credentials. He worked on the family newspapers while going to school, and later went to law school at night. That's where he met his future bride, Marilyn. They practiced law together for 2 years before he ran for Congress and won in 1976. He still spends a lot of time on Capitol Hill, where he presides over the Senate and lobbies for the administration. He's an active vice president who has traveled to 42 countries thus far, to Asia, Latin America, Africa, and Europe.
He's going to send a letter to you.
He meets with the president and his principal advisors for at least an hour every morning when they're both in town. Within the administration, Quayle is known as a hard worker. His approval ratings in the polls have been rising steadily, if slowly, over his 34 months in office. But still, as many as half of all Americans question his ability to be president. Dan Quayle sees the polls as important because in politics, public perception is everything. At the official vice presidential residence in Northwest Washington, we talked about that. I'm going to ask you all of the questions that I hear people asking behind your back or that people make jokes about.
Have at it.
Okay. Look, he's a pretty good vice president, and he seems loyal and honest, but, you know, not really a heavyweight. Doesn't that hurt you when you hear the jokes, when people say, hey, he shouldn't be president? All that stuff that went on week after week? Yeah.
You know, if you'd walked in my shoes, it'd hurt you, too. It'd hurt anybody. But you've got to go on. You've got a job to do. And I'm doing the job. But there are two polls that I'm interested in. One, what does the president think? And two, the American people will give a poll on Election Day.
You have made your share of gaffes. Do you feel now that you have to watch everything that you say because we, the press, are going to be there to say, aha, you know?
Look, everyone makes misstatements. But I don't have the luxury that you and the media have. You got retakes. I don't. I'd like to have a few retakes.
Did you really say when you were in Latin America, I wish I spoke Latin?
That is not true.
I heard that it
Totally
wasn't true, and people think it is true.
You know, it's totally untrue, and there's others like that. That's just simply not true. Matter of fact, that started out as a joke on the Johnny Carson show, according to my information. Started out as a joke, and then all of a sudden people said, oh, this is true. But you know what, Barbara? I have no doubt whatsoever in my mind. I have been strengthened by what I've gone through. Would I like to repeat it? Heck no. But I have been strengthened because of what I've gone through.
Do you think that a handsome physical appearance, almost a boyish appearance, is a hindrance?
From my personal perspective, it's been a liability.
The office of vice president allows the Republican Party the biggest opportunity of lining up the future presidential candidate in 1996. Suppose a small group of very influential Republican leaders came to you and said that it might be better if you stepped aside in favor of someone they thought would have a better chance of being president. Would you step aside?
That's not going to happen.
How do you know?
Believe me, it's not going to happen.
One-on-one with the president, do you express differences?
Absolutely.
Do you feel free to speak up at cabinet meetings, to express differences?
In the cabinet meetings, I do this. I try not to ever advance my particular viewpoint. What I do is sometimes will correct a cabinet member if I think that they're wrong. I will ask questions. But I try not to get into the position of where I am making recommendations for the president. I really don't want the cabinet to know what I tell the president.
After your 1980 Senate election victory, you were quoted as saying in an interview, I know one committee I don't want, judiciary. They're going to be dealing with all those issues. Remember this? Like abortion, busing, voting rights, prayer. I'm not interested in those issues, and I want to stay as far away from them as I can. How do you feel about that statement today?
I don't know if it's a direct quote, but it's a reasonably accurate statement, and I will say that I said it. Now, what did I mean? I meant that there are other areas that I was more interested in. One, Labor and Human Resources Committee. And I chose that for, you might say this was being an opportunist, but I chose it for political reasons. And the reason I chose is because no one else wanted that committee. I would be chairman of a major subcommittee, and it's one of the best decisions I made, because not only did I get into the Job Training Partnership Act, which I wrote, but I got involved with vocational education, adult literacy, the disabled, many issues that I had not spent a lot of time on in the past.
And also, it was a small committee. You were a big chief in a small committee, and other people and politicians got to see you.
It gave me a forum.
What's the most serious domestic problem facing this country today?
Jobs.
What is the most critical foreign policy issue?
Peace, the proliferation of ballistic missiles and the potential of chemical, nuclear, and biological weapons.
As a senator, you were known as one of the hardliners when it came to the Soviet Union. Then as vice president, you were skeptical about Mr. Gorbachev. Now, as a result of the events that have taken place, what kind of advice would you give the president, would you give others on U.S. aid to the new republics?
Well, I was, and I still am a hardliner when it comes to the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union's undergone dramatic changes. I was skeptical of President Gorbachev, and I think for very good reasons. He is still, and he will tell you this, he's a Leninist. And Raisa Gorbachev is a Leninist. They will tell you this.
Leninist.
Leninist.
I mean, they're still dedicated communists.
I don't think I misjudged his ideology. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to give aid where you're going to have a system that does not really undergo some rather radical changes. What we want to do is to have more private-to-private discussions and negotiations rather than government-to-government.
Mr. Vice President, how do you feel about the something that's starting in the West and seems to be continuing in this country, and that is a limitation of the number of years congressmen and senators should serve? You know, throw the rascals out.
Throw the rascals out. I have been for that ever since I ran for public office.
How much limitation?
My preference is 12 years in the House, 12 years in the Senate. That's 24 years, and that's a long time.
More and more, the private lives, the intimate personal stories of public officials are being divulged. Do you think that indiscretions, an affair perhaps, other indiscretions, are a detriment to the capacity to govern?
No, not. Depends on what it is. When you get in public life, anybody that's thinking about getting into public life, let me just say this. You're going to be an open book whether you want it or not.
Should it be a detriment to leadership?
One incident? Hardly. A lot of incidents? Perhaps.
What was the best time of your life? What was the worst?
Oh, in the category of best time of my life, I'd have to put a few. I think the moment I met, and then the day that I married Marilyn, the day that I accepted Christ as my Savior, the day that I was sworn in as the 44th Vice President of the United States of America. Those are a few of the best moments of my life.
What was the worst time of your life?
When I was about 10, I guess, 10 or 11, my father had a disease called lupus. It was very rare at the time. And he was in and out of the hospital for 2 years. And my mother and father had just adopted twins. And we got them when they were 9 months old. And my father really was expected to die. And I'll never forget the time when I overheard my mother talking on the phone to a friend where they said they packed Jim's stuff at the office today and put it in a closet, which meant he probably wouldn't go back to work. And she went on about how she was afraid she was going to lose the twins because adoption, that since she might be a single parent with two, that they might not stay in the family. Well, it didn't turn out that way, thank God. My dad came back and he's living today. He's in reasonably good health for someone his age, although he's undergoing a hip operation. But that was a rather difficult moment when you're 10 or 11 years old and you're expected to be a substitute father.
Let's talk about the best times and ask Mrs. Quayle to come in.
Great.
Marilyn Quayle has a reputation as a tough lady. You'll see a different side of her tonight. She's savvy, funny, and very vulnerable. More when we come back.
I'd like to have a word with you, and that word is and. It's a word you don't hear much if you're spending less than 10 grand on a car. Unless you're looking at Plymouth Sundance America. It gives you an automatic transmission, and air, and a stereo, and a driver's airbag, and the owner's choice protection plan. And it's the only car that gives you those ands and 50 others for under 10 grand.
Now, get a warranty choice no other manufacturer offers.
She was sympathetic. My gynecologist said she'd been through it and the irritation could be intense. You couldn't cure a recurrent vaginal yeast infection fast enough. She said a woman should first see a doctor for an initial diagnosis. After that, with gynolotrimine, you can cure yourself. It's available full prescription strength without a prescription. She said it would bring me early treatment and early cure. Gynolotrimine, my gynecologist's cure, and mine.
I'm alive. Howard Weber.
Alive. Jessica Weber.
For a free list of cars with airbags, see your Allstate agent. Imagine a rent-a-car company that offers special delivery right to your door. That's Enterprise.
Here, let me help you.
Enterprise, a special rent-a-car company that gives you special delivery.
So I'm in the grocery store, and this really good-looking guy smiles at me and says,
Hi.
Hi. Kellogg's Brown Flakes?
Oh, well, these aren't mine. My folks are visiting.
He didn't have to be embarrassed. I love Kellogg's Brown Flakes. They have this nutty, toasted wheat taste that is really great. Anyway, I grab a box of Kellogg's Brown Flakes and say, gee, that's too bad. I was going to compliment your good taste.
The toasted taste of Kellogg's Bran Flakes.
They're not what you expect.
Her videos are provocative.
Be nice.
Seductive.
Come on, let's go.
Now Madonna's causing a whole new commotion.
Good.
In the network television premiere.
Who are you?
Shut up and kiss me.
Who's That Girl? Saturday.
He's a hero to some, a scoundrel to others. Now, for the first time in 5 years, Oliver North sits down for a face-to-face interview, a behind-the-scenes look at Ronald Reagan and the Iran-Contra affair. Oliver North live beginning Monday on Nightline.
During the 1988 presidential campaign, some people felt that Dan Quayle's wife, Marilyn, should be running for office. She's smart, and she has tried to reach out, but she has a reputation for being guarded with the press. Well, that's not the Marilyn Quayle we found. Marilyn and Dan Quayle will celebrate their 19th anniversary next month. They have 2 boys, now 14 and 17, and a 12-year-old girl. Mrs. Quayle has a reputation for determination. She had her doctor induce labor for their first child so she wouldn't miss the bar examination. She doesn't practice law now because of possible conflicts of interest, but she has a full schedule in her role as Second Lady of the Land. She has concentrated on emergency preparedness and disaster relief. She's also active in education efforts for breast cancer prevention. She lost her mother to the disease. We talked about living in the limelight, the pros and the cons of it. Mrs. Quayle, we talked to your husband a great deal about the criticism and about the jokes. And, okay, he has learned to take it, and perhaps you have, but what does it do to a family? How do you explain all this to your kids?
I think one of the fortunate things for us was our children literally had grown up in Washington, so they were probably more used to the give and take of politics than others. But it was difficult. Believe me, it was when you're during the campaign. Of course, we were traveling separate places. I was keeping in touch with the kids. You call home and your son's been beaten up at school.
Really?
It's not easy.
Beaten up because his father is that serious?
Because of I think it was the frenzy. The kids felt it's okay. Dad's getting beaten up on, so it's okay to beat up on the little boy.
It hurts Mom a lot, doesn't it, still? No. How do you combat it now when you hear jokes about him? I mean, this man you love.
Well, you know what?
Those are easy.
Yeah, actually, we don't talk a lot about it. And sure, the kids would bring it up periodically, but Barbara, you go on.
Mr. Vice President, this lady's crying.
You know what?
I cry easily.
No, you know why she's crying? Because of her kids. Look, the kids are the ones that feel the pain the most. Sure. Did it hurt me? Yes, but look, I asked for this job. They didn't. But they have done tremendous under the circumstances. And as you can see, Marilyn is a Marilyn is a very soft touch when it comes to her children.
You know.
This is the tough iron lady that the media has described her as, who cares deeply about her children, and when her children are hurt, she's hurt.
But I will say we've become connoisseurs of the jokes. The kids do watch, and our children are now teenagers. They watch Saturday Night Live, and they watch some of the other shows, and some of the jokes are funny.
What do you find funny?
When they're not mean-spirited. You know, you've got to be able to laugh at yourself.
She may find them funny. I don't find them funny at all.
But the kids will tell us, and they've learned that, I guess the best lesson for all of us out of this is we have wonderful friends. And you can pull through anything if you have your family and if you have friends that support you.
Anything you'd like to say to Jay Leno or Johnny Carson?
I'd like to have a little of the money that they've made off of me. I think they ought to share.
College costs are coming up.
I'm sure that knowing their political philosophy as I think I do, they ought to share a little bit of it, starting with their targets.
Don't hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath is right.
Mrs. Quill, your husband has said that you are one of his top advisors. Yes?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
He's the one to ask.
Well, I'd like to know from either of you, one example, piece of advice that your husband has followed, maybe a piece of advice that your husband hasn't followed, but in what areas would you advise him?
That's not, I think any time you have a marriage like ours, where we started out as partners, we were in law school together, we started out, as you might say, business partners, professional partners, and fell in love, became married partners, whereas I think in the past, well, a spouse might be an advisor, you weren't allowed to admit it because, you know, the man always had to do it. But I think that's changed, where the advice is still the same, the give and take is the same, it's the admission that it's there.
Can you think of a piece of advice that Mrs. Quill has given to you?
Well, she gives me advice all the time.
Too much advice. Too much advice.
On political matters and non-political matters.
Can you give us any example?
Better not to.
She just gave me some advice not to. Now the question is, I'm thinking, should I follow that advice or not follow it? In this case, I'll follow it.
Thank you.
Well, you're just going to sit there and be this weak vice president and have your wife tell you that you can't answer a question?
Absolutely.
Mrs. Quill, is it true that you learned to lip read?
Yes.
Under what circumstances?
My sister, who's 2 years younger than I, is severely hearing impaired. And I went with Sally to class and learned to lip read right along with her.
So you can read secret conversations.
But I know that she lip reads.
Yeah, but the other people don't.
That's right, other people don't, but I do.
That's the secret.
It's not a secret now. The whole world knows now.
You've had some difficult times yourself since your husband took office. Last summer, you had a hysterectomy because of a possibility of cervical cancer. I wondered, did that frighten you? Did that change, that brush with cancer, change your thinking at all?
I'm one of the lucky ones. It really reinvigorated the role I've been playing in breast cancer awareness, because cancer is one of those diseases where if you know the facts and get something early, you have a real chance of survival. I was lucky. It was not the best summer we've ever had, but I'm fine.
Were you frightened?
A little bit. But we were told that they thought they had detected it early enough that it wouldn't be a problem. But you never know, and you certainly don't know until after the surgery.
Mrs. Quill, yours is I understand, a very religious family. Do you believe in the literal interpretation of the Bible?
Yes.
Noah, The ark, the rains, the flood, the 2x2, yes?
Yes.
It's been reported that you have a running dialogue with God. Have you read that? Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Do you? And if so, would you tell me what is meant by that?
When you're, I feel that when you're a Christian, you're trying to live your life as God would have you live it. And he's always there, so you can always talk to him. And I spend a lot of time mentally just talking things out. It's very comforting.
Do you, Mr. Vice President?
Yes. We pray to God every day. We pray together as a family at night, and we ask for guidance.
I'd like to ask you about some of the questions today that are the most controversial that affect families. In many schools today, teenage boys are being taught how to use condoms. You have 2 teenage sons. How do you feel about this?
I've spent time talking to the boys about their responsibilities to themselves, sexual responsibility, and that marriage is really the most important thing if you're going to commit yourself to someone, and that's where the care comes in.
What about the question of schools giving out condoms to teenagers?
I don't think it's the role of the schools, no.
The country is fiercely divided on the question of abortion. Could you give us your specific views, and if there is any area in which you disagree with each other?
It's yours.
Well, my view has always been that I've been opposed to abortion. I always have been. I think the exception of life of the mother, rape and incest.
The exceptions for you are rape and incest.
And life of the mother.
And life of the mother. You agree with your husband's definition and the exceptions?
Yes.
What if your daughter, who is now, what, 12?
12.
One day she's a teenager, with all the best advice you gave her. Something happens. She comes home and says that she's going to have an unwanted child. Mothers, think about that.
The people have to take responsibility for their actions, and that is a part of life. And if you feel you are mature enough to go through sexual act, there is always the possibility of having a child, and one must take responsibility for that. No, it wouldn't be easy, and wouldn't be easy on her. It wouldn't be easy on any of us. But you don't take one mistake and compound it by taking a life.
So you would want the child in that case to have the baby?
Yes.
Would you like to see the Supreme Court reverse its decision on the doctrine of Roe versus Wade?
Yes. I think the court eventually will.
What do you like most about Marilyn Quill? What would you change if you could?
Be careful.
Actually, I think I fell in love with Marilyn. Oh, it's almost what you'd say love at first sight. And I'm lucky she's put up with me for almost 19 years.
Are you as generous about him? Is there anything about the Vice President, about your husband, that you would like to see just, a little different?
He could pick up his clothes a little more often.
I'm not that bad.
Mrs. Quill, you've been very honest in this interview, so tell me the truth. Do you want your husband to be President of the United States?
Being a mother and being a very private person, you look at things in different ways. From the standpoint of, would he be a very good president? Yes. Could he lead this country forward and make a difference? Yes. Do I want my family exposed to even greater limelight than they are now, and possibly greater hurt? No. So it's mixed.
Give you the final word. Do you think that you would be a good President of the United States? Do you have the confidence now? Do you think you have the knowledge? Do you think you have the wisdom? Do you think you could make it?
Absolutely. No doubt whatsoever.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mrs. Quill.
Thank you.
In case you're interested in how Vice President and Mrs. Quayle felt about the hearings on Judge Thomas, they told us they were behind Judge Thomas all the way. Mrs. Quayle said she herself had been exposed to sexual harassment in law school and in Washington, but she said she confronted the men doing it and she, quote, nipped it in the bud. And this past week, President Bush authorized the formation of a campaign re-election committee for the Bush-Quayle ticket. Well, next, Hugh Downs will report that could save your life. How to improve your odds of surviving an air disaster. Victims don't usually die on impact. Smoke and fire are the big killers. Know what to do and how to do it, and you could walk out alive and live to tell about it. Right after this.
That's Mommy's little sweetheart.
Now there's a new Stainmaster carpet that handles foot traffic like never before. New Stainmaster Extra Life. It stays beautiful longer. Only from DuPont.
Chrysler announces the ultimate guarantee.
A plan that helps protect your new Dodge Caravan or Plymouth Voyager from the day you buy to the day you sell. It's your assurance of value when you buy, safety when you drive, security when you need it. A warranty choice no one else offers, even guaranteed value when you trade. You can't do better than that. Call 1-800-92-MINIVAN and rediscover American value.
Collection by Matrix, the style behind the stylist.
Our job is to gather information. That's what we do 24 hours a day.
Here, Dan, we're 4 feet above flood stage right now.
A small group of lawmakers will sit down tomorrow.
The Kurdish refugees in this camp have lost...
At KOMO, we believe that how we give you this information is the key. Presenting the news in a way that's clear and straightforward. That's what makes the difference.
Today's news, clearly presented. Join us for KOMO News 4 tonight.
Air disasters, where passengers come out alive. Such miracles could happen more often.
Over 80% of all airline accidents are survivable or partially survivable.
Learn what to do. A few simple rules could save your life. Hugh Downs reports when 2020 continues.
The Tennessee Volunteers are Alabama bound for a high noon showdown with the Crimson Tide. Then regional coverage of key conference matchups follows. Number 3 Washington meets Pac-10 rival California. Illinois takes on Iowa. Colorado tackles Oklahoma. Or Texas A&M battles Baylor. It's an ABC college football doubleheader Saturday.
Passion fireworks. Is this hot or what?
We're alone. No one's going to walk in and no one's going to stop us.
Life goes on Sunday.
This is a KOMO 4 News Brief with Dan Lewis.
Good evening. We have a reporter in Shelton tonight to get the latest on a baby abandoned there. The little girl, just hours old, was brought to Children's Hospital. We'll find out what police know about the parents on KOMO News 4 at 11. Police were surprised when they confiscated all these guns from one man last night. Tonight, the prosecutor is surprised by what happened to that man today. And you'll be surprised by the cost of this, the newest in electronics, a compact disc recorder. More after this.
Let's review the IPG line of credit, JW.
$26 million at 200 basis points.
Target Prime +1.
Commercial banks do million-dollar deals with huge corporations, which can make your account seem kind of small.
Excuse me. We're interested in a home loan.
Syndicate the second $3 million.
At Washington Mutual, we don't do business with big business, just people like you.
We've got a firm agreement. Yes, sir. I'll do lunch with their CEO.
Washington Mutual, the friend of the family.
About that home loan. Nice putt.
Honey, Mervin's anniversary sale is back.
Don't miss Mervin's anniversary sale, going on now.
You want to go?
Also at 11, deadly plane crashes like you're about to see on 2020. Our aviation specialist has additional information that could save your life. Join us for KOMO News 4 at 11.
They walked away from certain death, and many people called it a miracle. They're people who survived air disasters, and tonight you'll hear their stories. They're sharing more than the drama. What they have to say could save your life. Experts now realize that most victims of air crashes aren't being killed on impact, they're dying trying to escape. But there are things you can do to increase your odds of survival. As Hugh reports, there are even courses being offered on how to survive what every air traveler fears.
It was just after dark last February 1st. U.S. Air 1493 was one of many routine flights coming in for a landing at Los Angeles International Airport. The Boeing 737 was carrying 89 passengers and crew.
I remember looking out the window and remarking what a clear night it was and what pleasant evening it was going to be.
David Koch, who at that time knew almost nothing about how to survive an air crash, was in the middle of a rather uneventful business trip that within an unpredictable few minutes turned into every passenger's nightmare.
There was this this sort of sickening impact. It was almost like a crunch. And I looked up, and there was a shower of sparks that was whizzing by the window. That was followed almost instantaneously by a ball of fire, and I could see flames shooting up past the window. And I said, my God, I think we've hit an airplane.
They had. The National Transportation Safety Board confirmed that the accident was caused when a ground controller had guided two planes onto the same runway, a commuter SkyWest and the 737. All 12 passengers and crew on the small plane were killed. 23 died on Koch's plane, but 66 survived, proving that passengers can walk away from accidents like this. Just 2 years ago, another spectacular lesson in survival took place when a United Airlines DC-10 came in for a landing at the Sioux City Airport in Iowa.
We have no hydraulic fluid, which means we have no elevator control, almost none, and very little aileron control. I have serious doubts about making the airport.
Many wondered then how anyone could survive such an explosive impact and fire. But 187 of the 298 passengers and crew did survive.
Over 80% of all airline accidents are survivable or partially survivable. What that means is that if you're involved in an airline accident, over 80% of the time you're going to have a chance to survive that, meaning that you won't be killed by the crash forces on the plane.
Koch, along with another passenger, Dale Zukor, who was returning from a trip with her son, were among the passengers fortunate enough to have survived the impact of the Los Angeles crash. They, like most passengers, were unprepared for the crisis, and we can learn some lessons from their experience. Passengers don't realize that they have little time to escape, or that the number of emergency exits varies from plane to plane and are difficult to find.
I was thrown out of my seat and caught between my seat and the aisle. And the cabin immediately filled. There was a big ball of fire on the left side of the plane, instantly hot, and the cabin was filled with dense black smoke.
If passengers survive the impact, the most immediately threatening problem is fire and toxic smoke. On Koch's plane, most passengers died from breathing poisonous smoke caused by burning fuel and cabin materials. Koch, like most passengers, didn't realize he had less than 90 seconds to escape.
Smoke hit me really hard, and I started choking violently. It was almost impossible to breathe. Very, very painful. I tried holding my breath to avoid taking in that bad smoke. At that point, I suddenly realized that I wasn't going to make it, that I was trapped inside the airplane.
You really felt doomed.
I felt that I was a goner.
Koch said a fire was raging around the front of the plane. The cabin was pitch black. Like most passengers, he didn't know where or how to get out.
I crawled for several rows down towards the rear. And while I was on my hands and knees, several people walked over me. I was sort of trampled.
My son hit a man because he kept preventing me from getting out of the flight, out of the plane.
By pure luck, Koch headed in the right direction.
I was almost unconscious by this time, but I put my fingers in the crack and pulled, and it moved. I was able to get my head outside the door and breathe in a few breaths of fresh air. And that revived me considerably. I felt like Superman for a minute.
Even when passengers find an exit, it is often blocked. That's what Zukor encountered.
The woman by the window froze, and she did nothing to open the wing exit. A man behind her jumped forward and pushed the window out. And my son extricated me from the ground and tried to get me to the window exit, and people kept pushing. You only get one person out. It's not a door, it's a window. It's important that people understand that's a window. So it's one body out at a time.
It was a nightmarish sight. I remember looking at the overwing exit on the right side, and people were fighting desperately to pop out of that exit, and they were struggling, and one by one they were coming out, running across the wing and then dropping off.
Another thing passengers are not prepared for, the exit hatch weighs at least 45 pounds and is unwieldy even under the best conditions. Koch's plane had 6 emergency exits, but several had been damaged by fire, leaving fewer avenues for escape. The bodies of 19 victims were reported backed up in the aisle, apparently waiting in line to exit. But Koch and Zukor got through the exits in time.
I estimated I was 10 to 12 feet in the air, and I hesitated about jumping because I had no shoes on, and but I said, "What the hell?" and just jumped.
My son said to me, "Mom, we're in a crash." And when we got on the wing, he said, "I'm going to jump and catch you, and then you're going to jump." And that's exactly what I did.
These 2 passengers survived not because they knew what they were doing, but because of sheer luck. But sheer luck could not save everyone. What all the passengers needed was solid information. Like Koch, many passengers on planes are business travelers. Some companies feel the airlines don't teach sufficient survival lessons, so they're sending employees to air crash survival schools.
So many of them travel so much, so often, all over the world, that an executive is a priceless commodity to a large company.
Ken Burton runs the Stark Survival Training Company and teaches executives survival in both commercial and corporate jets. Here, he's working with management people from Pasadena's Ambassador College on their corporate jet in California. During Burton's safety session, he was teaching, among other things, the proper brace positions in the event of a crash landing. After filling the plane with safe smoke, he shows them how to move through smoky conditions that occur in many emergencies.
We teach them how to evacuate the aircraft as if they were the only ones to survive.
His advice, you must not stop to help anyone else when escaping a plane. Many safety advocates say the 90 seconds you may have is merely an arbitrary figure. Deadly smoke could kill you in less time, or you might have more, but you can't count on it.
You have to overcome the screams and the pain and the hollering and the carrying on inside the aircraft. You are responsible for you. You cannot be accountable for anybody else.
He trains his students in a handful of ground rules, and he says you can't break any of them.
I tell them, never sit more than 3 rows away from an exit. Sit on the aisle.
When you board the plane, count the seat backs to a first-choice emergency exit, and count the rows to a second-choice exit, because if the plane fills with smoke, you won't be able to see your way to the exits. You'll have to feel your way to escape. Burton also tells passengers never to crawl on their hands and knees, but to walk in a crouching position.
Trying to crawl out of an aircraft full of people on your hands and knees, the ensuing results would probably be stacked up like cordwood, or trample to death, or trip other people who are making their way toward the exit. therefore blocking their easy access. By keeping your feet and staying low, you shouldn't have any problem getting into the exit quickly if you're where I say you should be, and that's within 3 rows of your first choice exit.
Burton explained, other than being close to an exit, there is no single section of a plane safest to sit in because every plane and every accident is different. But where does passenger responsibility for safety end and the government's begin? What about the Federal Aviation Administration? Representative Barbara Boxer of California is one of the severest critics of the FAA. She runs the Government Activities and Transportation Subcommittee and oversees regulations on passenger safety. She's been very tough on the FAA and the airline industry, saying the airlines put profit before safety.
What is happening is that people cannot get out of that aircraft. They don't die in the initial crash. They die because of the toxic fumes, the flames, and they can't get out of the aircraft. You have this, essentially, this morgue on the ground, and suddenly, within 90 seconds, there's poison spewing out in that whole plane, and they can't get out. Now, why can't they get out? They can't get out because, in large part, it's practically impossible to exit out those window exits because there are seats blocking those exits.
Boxer supports a proposal to widen exit rows for easier escape. But the proposal has been debated by the FAA for 6 years, and the rows in domestic planes still have not been widened as they have been in British planes. 1 year after a major accident involving their planes, the British ordered that the seat next to the exit be removed or the whole row pushed back. Anthony Broderick of the FAA defends the slower U.S. position.
The real question is, how do you do that more quickly? We need to analyze the cost of our actions. We need to analyze the benefits that are going to come from our action, present this to the public at large, get their comments, and take their comments into effect. All of this takes time.
One other proposed safety improvement is a smoke hood. It's intended to give passengers extra breathing time in a smoke-filled cabin. Ironically, right now, the only people on a plane who don't have that extra chance for survival are the paying passengers. The crews are already equipped with some version of a smoke hood. But the FAA hasn't approved passenger use because it claims putting the smoke hood on might delay passengers from rushing out of the plane. The Aviation Consumer Action Group, a consumer protective organization, says the FAA should approve the hood immediately.
There may only be 2 exits on an airplane for 40 or 50 people to get out. That means that people are trapped in the plane, and they need something to breathe if there is a fire and smoke in the plane.
In fairness, the FAA is taking steps to improve passenger safety. In this test with a remote-controlled jet plane, the agency is working on safety fuels to limit explosions on impact, like this. It's also mandated that seats be made of fire-blocking materials. But that safer material is not used throughout the cabin except in new planes or when a plane is completely refurbished. Safety advocates point out that most of us fly in older planes, ones that aren't outfitted with all of the newest fireproof materials. Walter Coleman, an airline industry representative, feels planes are safe as is, and he defends the industry's record.
I think the traveling public assumes that they're going to get a safe trip, and they're paying for safety when they fly on a U.S. air carrier. And the evidence supports that, too.
Considering the number of flights daily, plane crashes are rare, but they do happen. And as we've seen, the killer most often is not the impact of the crash, but the fire and toxic smoke that quickly fills the cabin. Here again, some reminders that the experts have told us will help you survive this sort of emergency. 1. Sit in an aisle seat, if possible, no more than 3 rows from an emergency exit. 2. From your seat, wherever it is, count the seat backs to the nearest emergency exit. You can then feel your way to the exit in case the cabin fills with smoke. Then count the seat backs to an alternate exit to use in case the first one is blocked. 3. Don't crawl on the floor on your way out, but crouch waist high as far below the smoke line as you can get. In that position, you'll be able to breathe more easily, and others won't trample over you. 4, and finally, rehearse the plan in your mind. Remember, you'll probably have less than 90 seconds to escape. These reminders may sound grim, but they comprise advice that we've found you're not too likely to get from the airlines. Once again, we want to stress that flying remains one of the safest ways to travel. But as passengers in a crash emergency, you may ultimately find that you have only yourself to rely on to survive.
Oh, such good advice. Well, before he left for vacation, Hugh said to make sure that we stress that you can reserve an aisle seat in advance by phone or in person. You cannot reserve an exit seat by phone because airlines want to make sure that able-bodied passengers are at those locations. As for only looking out for yourself, experts told Hugh that the best thing you can do to help everybody else and yourself is to just get out as fast as possible. Attempts at heroics can slow everyone down. Incidentally, on that runway collision in Los Angeles, this week the National Transportation Safety Board blasted the Federal Aviation Administration for failing to enforce safety standards. Well, next, what are the first cases Clarence Thomas will face when he's seated on the Supreme Court? Stay with us.
Many believe it was the innovative spirit of Europe that inspired him. And when Mr. Ford came home, he created Lincoln Continental. Today, with computerized suspension, electronic transmission, and anti-lock brakes, Continental is one of the most advanced automobiles in the world. Lincoln Continental, what a luxury car should be.
What's for breakfast?
It's either a donut or nothing, honey.
I want nothing, honey.
No, you should at least have a donut. I'll have nothing, honey.
What about me?
Okay, you two split the donut.
We'd rather split nothing, honey.
But half of nothing is still nothing, dear.
Nothing, honey.
What?
Right.
Come out.
Toasted flakes, pure honey, and a sprinkling of nuts. Oh, what a sweet breakfast treat.
Okay, then we'll all split the donut.
Great, I'll take the middle.
But that leaves you with nothing, honey.
Kellogg's Nut and Honey.
Thank you.
Crunch.
I saw my doctor because the pain was so bad. I was afraid I needed surgery for my hemorrhoids. I was itching. The burning was awful. But my doctor said my hemorrhoids weren't serious. I didn't need surgery. He told me it was time I started using Preparation H.
Preparation H helps shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues and often brings relief from pain, itching, and burning for hours.
What a difference Preparation H makes.
Doctor recommended Preparation H.
There's a reason more people go to Sears for a new battery.
Can't believe I left my lights on.
Only Sears has the Die Hard. Sears is so confident of Die Hard starting power, if you need a jump, Sears will do it absolutely free. Anytime, anywhere, even if you leave your lights on.
I got stranded once. Never again.
Sears Die Hard. More power when you need it most.
Who's going to back you better than Sears?
Only 2 days until Crystal and Blake reunite. Stephen and Blake reconcile. Sammy Joe makes a splash, and Alexis gets a whack. The Colbys and the Carringtons are at it again as the dynasty rises once more in a 4-hour miniseries.
I'm all for it, 100%.
With John Forsythe, Linda Evans, Joan Collins, Emma Sands, John James, Heather Locklear, Al Corley, and Kathleen Bellard. Dynasty, the reunion Sunday.
This afternoon, Clarence Thomas took the first of 2 oaths required before he seated on the U.S. Supreme Court. The ceremony was held on the south lawn of the White House with Justice Byron White presiding. It's difficult to remember when so much attention was focused on the new Supreme Court justice. What will be the first cases before Justice Thomas, his biggest challenges? We've asked ABC News law correspondent Tim O'Brien to shed some light on this, and he joins us from Washington. Tim, what will be the first cases before the new justice, his first important challenges?
Well, he's going to take the seat and start hearing arguments November 4th, and just 2 days later on the 6th is probably the most important case of the term, involving separation of church and state. It's from a junior high school in Rhode Island, and the question is whether that school may have an invocation, a prayer, at its commencement ceremony. Now, it might not seem like that big a deal. It does relate to prayer in the schools. What makes it so terribly important is that the Bush administration has asked the court to use this case to relax the court's rules governing separation of church and state.
Which means more prayer in the school, or allowing prayer in the school.
But not just schools, allowing a lot more government accommodation of religion.
I see. Any idea how the justice will vote?
Not any idea at all. He did say during his confirmation hearing that he had no current problems with the current test, that he could live with it, which was very interesting because he would talk about that case and that issue even though it was directly before the Supreme Court. Senator Kennedy came in and said, well, if you can talk about that, why can't you talk about abortion? He didn't bite.
Well, speaking of abortion, how soon will it be, or how long will it be before there is an abortion a case before the court that might challenge Roe v. Wade?
Well, there's no question it's on its way, and his vote will be crucial. There is no case currently before the Supreme Court directly challenging Roe, but there are several percolating through the lower courts. They could get here conceivably this term, in which case the decision would be announced probably next June or July, right on the eve of the next presidential election.
Thank you, Tim. We have a lot of cases that we'll be very interested in, of course, and interested in particular to see how this new justice does vote. Thank you for being with us. We'll be right back.
It was designed to run like a watch. Just strap it on.
In art, taste is subjective, but in life, good taste is well defined. Fancy Feast gourmet cat food, exceptionally moist and delicious. Fancy Feast. Good taste is easy to recognize.
I'm alive. Howard Weber.
Alive. Jessica Weber.
For a free list of cars with airbags, see your Allstate agent.
Who could leave a newborn baby out in the cold? Up next, we'll take you to the town where everyone wants that question answered.
Also an update on the fires, including which lands are closed.
Plus, a special report with more tips on staying alive in a plane crash.
And Mike Tyson's next big fight is off.
You'll hear why next on KOMO News 4.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Are you ready for America's #1 primetime football show? We're gonna make you smile and get rid of your blues and do the Monday night football boogie for you.
We're going to go back to Washington again right now, where Ted Koppel is preparing tonight's Nightline. Ted?
Barbara, the stage is set for a Middle East peace conference. The White House calls it an historic occasion that could bring security to the region. But is the conference a genuine chance for peace or just another photo opportunity? Barbara?
That's Nightline after your local news. And that's 2020 for tonight. We thank you for being with us. Hugh Downs will be back next week. And on behalf of you and everyone else here in 2020, remember, we're in touch, so you be in touch. I'm Barbara Walters. Have a good weekend. Good night.
To receive a transcript of 2020, please send $5 to 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203, or call 303-831-9000. For availability of a videocassette version of a 2020 segment, please call the same number.
2020 is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
America's watching ABC.
The true joys in life are not found in the empty pursuit of pleasure, but in the accomplishments realized through one's own hard labor. For nothing satisfies the soul so much as honest toil and seeing through a job well done. Of course, having a whole bunch of money is not too bad either.
If
If the world's auto manufacturers were only allowed to build one car to satisfy the needs of all car buyers everywhere, the Toyota Camry would be the logical choice. Motor Trend 1987. Now your Toyota dealer has an even better Camry. Roomier, quieter, more powerful, and with an airbag standard, safer. The 1992 Camry, we just couldn't leave well enough alone.
Come see the all-new Toyota Camry at your Toyota dealer now. It's still the logical choice.
Here, try this.
Ice cream? My mom...
It's yummy, non-fat frozen yogurt.
Amy, are you eating ice cream?
Not anymore.
Tomorrow at Lamont's, everything is 15% off. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Everything